because of the work that I do, I've seen how a person without a bridge gets in survival mode because they feel like I'm stuck on this side. And if I'm stuck on this side, then I'm going to do what I have to do to survive. So when we see example of bridges, I think we should lift that up while others trying to tear it down. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's important that you are here.
There were a lot of individuals that did want to support you, and there's one other friend of yours amongst many in Washington that was not able to join us tonight, but did in fact want to make sure a message was heard from him, and that is Speaker Paul Ryan. So if we could, just a moment, roll a video that he actually prepared for this event this evening to share with you all.
Here, wishing you a happy Martin Luther King Day. I'm sorry I can't join you for today's event, but I wanted to pass along an important message to mark this very meaningful occasion. You know, I don't have to tell you that at this moment, our country is at a turning point. With all the voices and noises flying around, we have a decision to make, and it's one that we have to make together as a country. We have to choose whether we're going to use the dialogue among friends and neighbors to find our way out of this time of real frustration, or if we're going to fight our way to the point where we further divide and isolate ourselves in total separation. The choice that we face today is one that we've faced throughout our history. And because of leaders like Martin Luther King, we've followed the right course before. Today, we owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to leaders like my friend Bishop Omar Jawar and the urban specialists who have taken action in bringing together people of diverse backgrounds, experiences, and communities to have an honest conversation about shared pain in hopes of healing wounds and responding with purpose. As a fellow man of faith, I share Omar's conviction that God is at the center of our hearts and minds as we seek to listen, understand, and grow with one another in our mission to create a more perfect union. In honor of the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's death, it is my profound hope that we bring humility, peace, and civility into expanding our dialogue. After all, that is how he approached his life's work, saying that hate is too great a burden to bear, with the knowledge that obstacles can be overcome and that peace can be achieved if his stick with love mantra was adopted. As a witness to the urban specialist mission that has successfully reclaimed lives and restored broken communities, I know that redemption, the redemption we seek, is possible. I ask that we commemorate this special day by using it to rededicate ourselves to more conversation, more dialogue, more sympathy, and a greater acceptance that our differences enhance our nation's strengths. Thank you so much.
So as we have a very varied audience here on the stage, you'll see that we've constructed a little bit of the way that we're going to move through the crowd, but I can't move on from this first set of individuals without recognizing another individual on stage, Don Williams. Don, I had the pleasure of meeting you back in February when I first met Urban Specialist. You hosted us in your home to talk about the work and the support you've given Bishop over the years. Since the late 1990s, long-term supporter of Bishop. I know that your core beliefs, your beliefs around second chances, and your true understanding of some of the true barriers that urban communities face have really led you to support both Bishop and a lot of other community work. Can you talk a little bit about how you've seen that progress in the time that you've been working with Bishop?
One of the early occasions when Bishop Jawar and I worked together was when there was incredible violence over in the South Dallas neighborhoods. And he and the guy who headed my foundation at the time got the Bloods and the Crips, or their offshoots, over to Podna's barbecue. And everybody was armed, as I recall, and the restaurant was closed, and negotiated a truce that night. And the violence reduced immediately into that. Now that's 20 years or so ago. Bishop Jawar and I have been working together. Today, there's a man in the audience tonight named Marlon Rollins, very successful businessman here in Dallas, who, when he was 17 years old and leaving Six Flags over Texas, was accosted by some white boys using the N-word, and a fight ensued. He was then later arrested that night, taken to the jail, and the prosecutor threatened him with 25 years of hard time in prison if he didn't commit to a lesser offense, which he did over 25 years ago. 3 weeks ago, the city of Dallas removed him as a park board member. His credentials and success in Dallas are so great that he had been appointed to the park board. He was removed because of what happened 25 years ago. Now that's a great injustice, and 20 years later, Pastor Jawar is working on that as well. So I appreciate that long obedience in the same direction, which has resulted in help not only systemically to these issues in Dallas, but to individual human beings that we all know in this room.
Thank you very much. So we've talked about redemption, which is one of the guiding principles for urban specialists. Another guiding principle for urban specialists is culture. And I think it's a unique one, and I wanted to actually take a moment just to read to everyone in this room what this particular principle says in their guidebook. It's crucial to understand urban culture and to stay relevant, to be a positive agent of change and influence, to translate the urban experience to outsiders and visitors. And I think this has been truly one of the real amazing things that you've done, that you understand that the way you put it, please say it for me, that the culture moves at such a speed. Finish my sentence.
Yes, the urban culture moves at a speed that if you're not relevant, you will miss the ideas and the problems that you will solve. You will solve problems that are no longer relevant.
Right.
You have a lot of people who do well, but they are not treating the person that needs to be treated. They're treating what they've been trained to treat, but that treatment doesn't work for the client that needs it. So you got to stay inside of the culture, and you can't be afraid of the culture. So you can't, you cannot heal what you hate. You can't do things like really invest in what you don't understand. See, so you gotta have people who are cultural icons and ask them to become part of the conversation. And whether you like them or hate them is immaterial. It's if they are effective. And if they are effective, you say, can I ask you to use your influence to affect the children and the people in the communities that we are trying to help? See, so this is why we are always seeking to find those cultural heroes. And those heroes come in different forms. And we have some of these on stage. You may not know who they are, but we will introduce so you'll understand why they are here. And you'll hear from some, Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm getting started.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We have a couple individuals that I want to call out. We have Mr. John Carlos, former medal-winning Olympian athlete. Absolutely. For his courageous demonstration in 1968. I believe we just had Mr. Peters join us. Thank you very much. I know your flight was delayed. Right there, intercepting machine, the man that makes you wish you could pick the individual defensive players on your fantasy football team. Currently starting at quarterback for Kansas City Chiefs. We have Mr. Brad Jordan here, formerly or currently known as Scarface of the Ghetto Boys, iconic hip-hop band. Mr. Rico Wells, one of the most prolific and influential men in the music industry today, behind Beyonce, Usher, Cardi, Wiz Khalifa, among many others. And we've got a young, amazing talent, Malcolm London, who rose to prominence in 2011 by winning a poetry slam. Most of you may have heard him around the world on his TED Talk, where he had a poem, an amazing poem around education, and made some interesting headlines in 2015 leading protests against the shooting in Chicago. So thank you very much for being here. So I thought we would start out with the iconic moment, especially as it relates to Martin Luther King. And again, I wanted to pull a quote that I felt was really appropriate to help set up this conversation. In the first speech that Martin Luther King gave just immediately after Rosa Parks had been arrested, which really sort of helped raise him to prominence, he said this. He said, "And certainly, this is the glory of America. With all its faults, this is the glory of our democracy. If we were incarcerated behind the iron curtains of a communistic nation, we could not do this. If we were dropped in the dungeon of a totalitarian regime, we could not do this. But the great glory of American democracy is the right to protest for right. So this idea of free speech, of open expression of your beliefs, this is inherent in our democracy. And John Carlos, it's really an honor to have you here on our stage this evening. And the question I would have for you is when you look back and you realize this one courageous act of yours cost you everything at some point. Today, back on the international stage, you podium again. Whoops, I gotta get the microphone over there. You podium again. So imagine we're at the Olympics again, and you podium. Does the John Carlos today still raise his fist, and why?
I'll never take my fist down.
All right.
Why? Because the injustices have not stopped. Yeah. You know, my faults 50 years ago, I was concerned about the military, such as my dad being in the First World War. To have my dad tell me firsthand what it was like for a black man to represent the United States and then to come home and in the United States not represent them. Yeah. So in parallel, as an Olympian, you're like a military person. We going out to defend or represent the United States like the military go to represent the United States in war. That's what the Olympics is, a war of attrition in athletics. We were not represented fairly during wartime. We were not represented fairly during the Olympic time. We set a precedent by raising our fists in the sky at that particular time because we found there were so many individuals that was voiceless. It was such a silence in my community until I was compelled to step out and say, I have to speak for those that couldn't speak for themselves. You know, for me to come up in Harlem, New York, to see so many loving families. As a little kid, I'm seeing this. And then to see this divisiveness come in, a thing called heroin. This was just sprayed on us like a test program. And I'm watching it. And I said, I thank God every day for the fact that he kept my mother and father solid. We had a wholesome family. But I had so many friends that their fathers was frustrated, embarrassed, to the point where, let me use whatever I can use to escape from myself. You know, so many parents, and I've seen a lot of black men today look in the mirror, and after they go through the process of washing their face, brush their hair and their teeth and so forth, they look in the mirror and they say, I don't like that guy. And they say, how do you not like yourself? This was for me to try and digest. Then I understood why they were running away from their responsibility, because it's difficult when your daughter says, Daddy, it's my birthday, you've been promised me that dress. Are you gonna buy me that dress for my birthday? Yeah, baby, I'm gonna buy you that dress. And he walks around the corner and he puts his hand in his pocket and there's nothing there but holes. His son come back and say, Daddy, my teacher told me if I don't get some sneakers for my PE class, I'm gonna fail in school. Can you help me? He go around and look in his other pocket, he got bigger holes. And then the wife said, our anniversary's coming. What we gonna do? Now you have a better understanding as to why you don't like the man in the mirror. But we didn't know at that particular time when they dropped that drug on us that there was no one night stand. Our kids left 70 years ago. Their parents, their fathers walked away. The average family in my neighborhood at that time was 4 kids to a family. When Daddy left, Mama was there to raise those kids. I'm watching as a young kid and I see the welfare people came. And let me tell you a little bit about the welfare. When the welfare, to me as a youngster, when I evaluated what welfare was, it kind of made me think about slavery and the ships. Made me think about how they brought us on those ships here, and they stopped off to the south, and they put us on the blocks, auction blocks. It took a family to send the son to the west, the daughter to the east, the mother to the south, and the father to the north. Never to see one another again. And then someone says, oh man, we did this wrong, it's morally wrong, we have to repent, we have to pay back. Well, how are we gonna pay back? Well, let's create something called welfare.
modern day social service. I saw the welfare workers. I saw the parents open the door, the welfare worker would walk in, and people would say, good morning, they would walk right on by, wouldn't say hello. But when they went in, they had a purpose of going in. They didn't go in to see whether the kids was eating. First thing they did was go in and look under the bed.
Check for the shoes.
Looking for a man's slippers.
Come on, talk to me.
They go in the closet. They're looking to see if they see a man's suit in the closet. Go to the ashtray. Let me see if I see a cigar in the ashtray. Why? So I can take that check, that assistance that we were supposed to be giving you. So slavery was still modern day. You sit back and hey guys, forgive me 1 second.
Go ahead,
Bishop.
go ahead.
Hey, I have to say this. I always say this.
Go ahead.
Hey, look, I'm not really here for the applause. God sent me here to communicate to one person out there in that audience.
Yeah.
I'm not here to get no bows. If I'm gonna dance, I get up and dance, y'all can applaud, or y'all can throw pennies up me. It's good. But I'm just trying to make a connection. So hold your applause, please, for me. Rest of them, they might like it, but for me, I'm old-fashioned. All right, so you asked why did I do it in Mexico? I did it in Mexico because, like, we had a flock of individuals here that represented the United States the same as me. As a young individual with a young wife, a young daughter, and I'm looking at my young baby, I'm looking at my beautiful wife, I'm saying, what am I doing to make life better for them? I'm going to represent America. I say, but I'm strong in myself. God made me that way. But I'm strong on when I have unification. So I say, let me unify all these young brothers, all these young sisters that's trying to represent America. And we told them, we say, hey man, America is great, but America can be greater. I say, if we choose not to go to the Olympic Games, and mind you, it's a big sacrifice for anyone that's been training for their entire life to say, I want to be on that podium. But I'm asking you to step back. Not for yourself, but for your country. Because, you know, you have to give your country sometimes shock treatment for them to respond. Okay? So now, we try to educate those individuals that was outside of San Jose State why we thought it was necessary to boycott. We taught them, but the final evaluation had to come from them. We couldn't tell them, you have no choice, you're not going. They chose to go. And I feel sorry that they chose to go because 50 years later, I find that those individuals that walked away from me, when America came down on me and tried to just wipe me off the face of the earth, I remember people would take out the camera, they would get away because they didn't want to be in the picture next to me. Now somebody pull out a camera there and knock you down and get next to me. So it shows you if you stand your course, you will be respected through God and through man. And then in turn, I'll be quiet after this. Proof is in the pudding. Those athletes that I talked about last 50 years ago, many of them, if you put them on the line today and ask them, say, man, if you had to make a decision today, what would you do? They turn around and say, man, I would be with you 1,000%. Why couldn't you see what I saw back then? And the difference is this. Why they would change their mind today? Two main factors. All of us are old timers now. I see all these youngsters up here. I say, boy, I wish I could go back. I remember when I was a young man, and I sit back now as an educator, and I think about when I was in school, and the kids would come in and say, Mr. Carlos, we got a bet going on. What's the bet? And we bet, is that you in the history book? The guy said, man, that's not Mr. Carlos. He's an old man. That's a young guy. I said, y'all going to discuss it a little more. Well, those same grandkids are the grandkids of those that were with me 50 years ago. So when they go home after they see this, they go home and say, Mom, Dad, are you in the Olympics? Yes, son. The next question is, what did you do? Heavy question. And then on the outset, when people were shunning me and so forth, that didn't like me because of my views, my political views, they shunned me. But yet, still 50 years later, I'm highly respected around the world. And those that stood on the sideline they feel today that they're being disrespected. So stand for what you believe in. Don't worry about the pain today, because your life that you live today is much stake that this life that you live is for you, but it's really for your kids. If you don't stand now, your kids have no future. Thank you.
We can just go ahead and go home. Thank you, brother. But let me say this. Was that powerful? See, you can't see passion don't die with age, and it don't get lesser. You know, if it's real, if it comes from a real place. Thank you. That meant a lot to me for you to say that on this stage. And we are, you know, and we have a brother here, Marcus Peters, who is with the Kansas City Chiefs. We don't hold it against you. Because he's from Oakland. And my brother, see, now I'm gonna show you something. Now this was 50 years ago, and then this is right now. So the young brother has been, and I've studied you, and I've seen what you've been doing. You know, you stood, and even in opposition, and I've heard you talk introspectively about yourself, about, hey man, when I did this wrong, I acknowledge that. How do you feel understanding what our brother just said and what you are doing in the NFL as we try to figure out how we bring this together? Tell me just your thoughts.
My parents, for sure, told me, like you said, when you look yourself in the mirror, you gotta love yourself. You gotta appreciate everything that come along with yourself, and know that you're not gonna be by yourself, because you got others that love you too. And so it didn't make it to be hard for me. I know who I am. I understand who I am. I understand, you know, every time I go through some things, I have to be the person to stand up. I have to be the person to take responsibility, because I'm gonna make those choices, you know. So I get into a whole lot of things because I like to say stuff, and me saying stuff. I played this game of football, right? And my pops taught me this game 25 years ago. My birthday was just on Tuesday. And he told me, you gotta play it with passion, you gotta play it with your heart. You gotta go out there and you gotta, you know, you doing something for others that you wouldn't be able to explain, you know, because if I go out there and I show my passion, I throw the flag in the stands this year. It was a horrible scene. And the only thing that I was thinking about when I was walking off the field was, I thought I got kicked out, right? But the worst thing was, dang, I just looked like another angry black man walking off the field, but I didn't look angry because I wasn't mad. I was smiling, and I felt a sense of me telling myself, like, all right, man, you giving us one more thing to talk bad about you. And they haven't talked good about nothing I did with the community yet. You know, they don't talk good about nothing that makes something positive for my situation. And when I did what I did, you know, it didn't come across my mind to be like, oh, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna do this, and you know, this is just what it's gonna be. They sat us down, we had a big meeting, and I think all 32 teams did around the league, and they gave you a choice. Either sit down or you stand up.
Well, you know, first of all, I love how honest you are about who you are.
Yeah.
And where you're coming from. And here's what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a young brother trying to figure out, how do I express what I feel but go to where I'm going and not stay stuck there. And so I love it that you are here so you can see how it feels to keep transitioning. It means a lot that you got on this plane and came to us. Thank you.
No, thank you. I love information, and I don't know a lot, you know.
Yes,
and I'm
sir.
willing to sit here and I'm willing to listen. Where I'm from is called game. Game recognized game. When somebody's speaking some words that need to be spoken, you sit down, you listen, you know. And I'm not afraid to sit down and get the information from the ones that come before me. You know, because my uncle David Hilliard was front line of the Black Panthers. You know, that's something that people don't know. That's something, I come from Oakland, California. You know, our tradition of how we love and how we treat each other, how we take care of each other. I want the same, you know, so, and I got a child now, a son, he's 3, amazing. When I was having my child, I was playing the last game of my college career, and I didn't even know it. You came at 11:56, we played the game the next day at maybe 1 o'clock, and then I went and seen him with my pops and my brother. They came and got me from who was playing Oregon. I got back to school the next week. I was suspended, you know. So I'm a 21-year-old. You know, I just had to go through a process of telling my mom, telling my dad, you know, hey, I gotta bring another human being into this world, you know. And then, you know, first thing is you ready? And I wasn't, because I was going through some stuff. And, you know, first thing in college student head is you broke. I'm gonna take care of this baby. And then I just got into some trouble, so my dreams is looking like they falling away from me. So I'm gonna pick myself back up.
Yes, sir.
So I went back to the mirror. This is what you said you wanted to do, right? This is what you said how you wanted to take care of your family. You gotta step up. Somebody gonna have to. I stepped up, I ran up, I owned up everything that I did, and I've been enjoying this beautiful journey that I'm on with me becoming something that I don't even know what I'm gonna become. But all I can tell myself is enjoy the journey, continue to be an amazing father, and just to try to continue to help others, because somebody gonna need it, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody gonna need it.
Thank you.
And
Good. Thank you.
Make sure we get a microphone here over to Mr. Jordan, if I could turn to you. Thank you so much, Senator. So I have to admit, 1991 is it? Mind of a Lunatic comes out, and this is a major mainstream hit.
My Playing Tricks was a mainstream. Mind of a Lunatic.
Oh, sorry, sir, my bad. I knew you were going to correct me.
not that guy.
Sorry about that. But these are mainstream songs that all sorts of communities hear, all individuals hear, and are left to translate for themselves what they mean, what they represent. And Bishop has this saying that when you have urban culture out there, any kind of culture out there, but when you leave it to people's own devices, it's like a drive-by analysis. People get to make assumptions about what they think that song meant, poem meant, whatever it is. And you really actually always had a very deep poetic depth. You still do. You're still very active in the arts and in culture. I heard you standing here and agreeing with Mr. Carlos here. I would like to know where you stand in urban culture right now. How do you feel you play that active role in translating the urban experience, just like you did in the 90s, and the 2000s, and all throughout your career? Has it changed?
Looking out, it seemed like I might have dropped the ball somewhere. Because the generation that's up under me is lost. We kind of dropped the ball a little bit, and now we're trying to recover. I have to. I respect the truth. There's a lot of feeling in the truth, y'all. And I get real emotional when it's the truth. When I look at what I come from and I look at what I am today, I look at what's coming up under me. And I realize that we have lost this generation. We're working so hard to try to recover. And, oh my God, look at the administration now. Look at these people. They hate us. Now you want to reach down to these kids and tell these kids what's happening, but it's too late. We're playing catch up now. I don't want to play catch up no more. I want to be here for that generation, this generation, you. I want to be here for you.
If you have any questions, anything you want to know, anything you want to read, together we can sit and read it, bro, and come up with some solutions and conclusions. You know what I mean? And I'm with you. And I don't want nobody on this stage to look at the youth, or nobody out here to look at the youth and not embrace. I embrace you. I embrace y'all. I might have lost y'all. It might be my fault, but I'm coming to get you. I'm going to play catch up with them. Come. Because there's some things that's going on out here that you are not aware of. And honestly, there's a lot of older people that we ain't aware of it either. But I am. So I have to share it. And I will. I will. Now then, you my brother. I respect what he does. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I want to let everybody out here know that I have started a positive purpose movement. And this movement is constructed to put us back to work. We cannot pass along a job for generations and generations. We have to pass along our businesses. That's what I'm down with. The positive purpose movement is happening right here, and I'm with you. I want to team up with you right now on this stage. You, Senator Cruz, I'm with you. Congresswoman, you know we love you. And everybody on this stage, I'm with you. If there's anything that I can do to help your movement, reach out to me because I'm going to need all y'all to help me with mine.